Welcome to And Now for Something Completely Machinima podcast. I'm Ricky Grove, your host for this, and we're talking with Tracy Harwood, Phil Rice, and Damien Valentine. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey there.
This week, we're going to review a film that I chose. It's called Let's Play Nomad X by Kristian Andrews. Now, I chose this film, this machinima film, because of the writing and the performance and the visuals all come together to create something, a reaction, at least in me, that was funny and kind of strange, and inevitably kind of sad, a little sad, although humor is the dominating feeling you get through it. It's ostensibly a Let's Play video, but there are actually two sort of stories going on. One is the story of the gamer who is playing a game called Nomad X, a game that he says that he's played many, many times, and that he oftentimes plays it at important events in his life. And then the other second story is one that he sort of mentions offhand that continues to encroach upon the main gameplay, and that's his story about his ex-wife and his meeting her in a grocery store and her fiance punching him in the throat when they go out to the car. And eventually the two stories collide at the end in just a wonderful ending in which both of them come together. And I won't spoil the ending for you, but it's not only funny, but I think sad, honestly. I love the vocal performance of the lead guy. It is just so funny. And it has that kind of humor that's contrasting to our last Half-Life 3 game trailer, which is sort of hit you on the head humor, witty at times, but still pretty blunt. This has a kind of subtlety because the guy's timing is so good, comic timing, that he'll be talking about the game and then he'll sort of slide in something about his wife. And then he'll correct himself and then come back to the game. And I'm also very impressed with the fact we have another film that we're going to be, two other films that Tracy picked. One is an Unreal Engine machinima, which is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. The game footage in this Nomad X is about as basic as you can get. So here you have this strange contrast of this sad, funny, almost Chekhovian kind of mixture of the two happening with this visual that is so dated that I think it's an actual genius choice to use it, because it pumps up the human side of it in a way that I have never seen in a Let's Play video before. So that's the reason why I chose it. I hope you guys like it. By the way, the website that he lists, we found this on Vimeo, I think it was, and he's got several other interesting films there that I like a lot. Bald Dad in particular is just great, the opposite of this. But the website link is kaput, and his own film website is kaput as well. I don't know what the deal. This is pretty old. It's about a 7-year-old film, so they may not have updated it. I don't know. But what were your thoughts about this film?
Shall I start? It's a 10-year-old film, Ricky. March.
Oh, 10. Oh my God.
2013.
Good Lord.
Do you know what a fabulous parody of the Let's Play phenomenon this was? This really made me laugh. I mean, seriously made me laugh. It was very, very, very well done. You know what? It's obviously not a real game. It's
I can
a film.
answer that, but I will wait till my turn.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't think it was a real game. A film, and I think inspired, apparently, as I was doing some background research on it, apparently by the folks that used to create arcade video games and Let's Plays from them, which I confess I don't actually remember. I don't recall those at all. And there's actually a really good interview with the director on directorsnotes.com about the inspiration for the film. And in it, he says, "My girlfriend came home late one night and walked in on me in my pants, scanning the surface of an unnamed planet for mineral deposits." Yep, I can imagine how that might go. But then he goes on to explain that he was actually inspired by David Braben's Frontier Elite 2 game, which he said, although it was graphically limited, he said the experience just felt limitless. So he wanted to remake Braben's forgotten masterpiece using an army of kind of fellow geeks, if you like, and crowdfund it and whatnot. But then he apparently found out that it was already being remade, called Elite Dangerous. And so to console himself, what he did was watched Let's Plays about forgotten arcade games. And he said he kind of found solace in the bizarre characters that were making these very heartfelt mini documentaries. One of his favorites of which is by a guy called Jim Plays Games, and it was a film called Frontier Fundamentals, and we'll put a link to that on so you can have a little look at that. He says it kind of contains chunks of long lost high school infatuation, bits of a then relationship, 2013. And then he says it also is kind of reminiscent of his grandparents' divorce as well. So he's kind of thrown lots of ideas into it. Interestingly, I think there's this, he makes this kind of comment about there being a shared consciousness in the way that games used to be, and is quite saddened that the experiences with those really special consoles of that period of time are kind of incompatible with gaming now. And he kind of makes the observation that the only way you can relive those kind of console experiences is through telling stories as you're making the Let's Plays. Which I think is kind of an interesting observation, because even though it's 2013, this could actually have been made last week. And you probably could have got the same kind of comments from it. And then I wanted to do a little bit of digging about who he was, because also I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't find a website for him to see what he's been up to. But I did find that he's part of an independent animation studio called Studio AKA. And he's actually a BAFTA-nominated animator for his films that kind of feature unconventional narratives that he often uses. He kind of uses observational drawing as a means to kind of communicate personal anecdotes, which is that bald dad thing that you found as well.
Right.
Really, really very interesting. But he intriguingly also referred to Let's Play Nomad X as a 3-minute parody of a type of YouTube documentary that typifies something he calls unclassifiable. Which I thought was quite funny. As does his game development work, because he's also worked on developing this game. And this game, from what I can see, is called Barbarian or Barbarian.
Barbarian.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. Which is a kind of very retro style dungeon-esque type sort of game, which he released in 2017. So as far as I can see, he's done lots of graphic styling on adverts and whatnot, including for people like Johnny Walker and Jules and Toyota. But I don't see that he's done an awful lot more of creative stuff like this, which is a shame, because he's clearly got a lot of talent, and that's probably been subsumed by the day job. But loved it. Thank you.
Thanks for that deep dive on that. That's a great information.
So Tracy, you're right. It was very much inspired by Frontier Elite 2, because I played that game so much when it was released back in 92 or 93, and I could relate so much to his experience with it, because it's one of those games you start off with this very basic spaceship, 100 credits, and a simulation of the galaxy as they understood it at the time, and you can just fly anywhere, you make money, you play it how you want to do it, and there's no story in it. Like you can just go where you want and make it. Kind of encourages you. It gives you enough lore and idea of the world that you can make up your own story as you're playing it, and it encourages you to do that. And
that's great.
The way that this video is presented, it kind of feels like it adds things that the game didn't have. Like you can see that at the beginning of it, the little pilot in the ship. You never see your pilot in your ship, but you imagine your pilot in the ship, and it kind of builds on that, which I really liked. I did check to make sure it wasn't a real game, because I thought if it was one of those, they released the source code for the original game. I thought if someone has taken that source code and made this out of it, I want to play it. And I was really disappointed that it wasn't real.
That's a testament that of his skill.
Yeah. Because the people, they make games now, but with those retro style graphics from the early 90s as part of the charm for it, and that really appealed to me. But so yeah, that was a shame. But Elite Dangerous is the fourth game in the series. Obviously, it's got all the modern graphics. We've covered videos made with it
exactly.
a few times. So obviously, it's come a long way since the graphical style of the original game that this is inspired by, which looks very similar to Nomad X. But yeah, and he's kind of sped up the pace of it as well. I mean, the original game is very slow paced because space is huge, and you have to speed up time to get anywhere. Otherwise, you'd just be flying there for a solid week before you got anywhere.
Right.
And I'm not joking about that. It's fully, space is as big as it should be, and it takes ages.
Oh my God. My God.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of patience for that sort of game.
Yeah. But yeah, it brought back a lot of memories. I really enjoyed the film. I did like the way that he was intersecting his real life with, like, the character he's voicing his real life with what he was doing in the game. I have to say, I don't think I've ever played it sitting in my underwear, but I don't think I relate to it quite that much. But yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I kind of want to dig out the game now just to play it again for that nostalgia value because of this.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Thank you. Phil?
Yeah, I mean, huge nostalgia factor. To back at my beginnings with video games and such. I'm curious, Tracy, you mentioned about him talking about early consoles, and I'm like wondering how far back is he going?
God knows.
When he's saying that, because to young people today, an early version of PlayStation is the oldest console they can even think of, or maybe they've heard of. Oh, remember the N64? Consoles went way back further than that, folks.
Yeah.
Atari and Intellivision and ColecoVision, and to me, this graphically and the feel of it, even though there's things animation wise that go on in this that those old engines could not have done, that really weren't possible until John Carmack did what he did at id Software for Doom and stuff for 3D, binary space partitioning and all that. But still, it's the severely reduced color palette and the pixelization and all that, wonderfully faithfully recreated. And it reminds me of a lot of Commodore 64 era games. Damien, the one you were talking about with space travel, it reminds me of a game that I got on the C64 for my birthday. I don't remember which year, when I was in high school. It's called the Halle Project. It was released around the time when Halley's Comet was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That'd be 1964, Phil. Gosh, that's dating you.
No, Halley's Comet came by during the 80s. Anyway, this game was released, and yeah, it was space travel, at least within the solar system. It wasn't trying to be the galaxy or anything. And all the travel was in real time. So yeah, if you wanted to, and it was at real speeds that you could go with current, Apollo era technology. So yeah, they had a function where you could speed up the time, because it's ridiculous to travel from Earth to Pluto, Anyway,
did you try it?
So
did you try it in real time?
Oh, of course. Well, no, not in real time. Yeah. No. Anyway, this so graphically there's that, and that was a wonderful experience, and I can't help but wonder what somebody, born post 2000, what they can even make of that, because I don't know, there's a tolerance that I have, even a love for primitive graphics, that I don't know how you encourage in today's let's say, kids
Uh,
who are seeing near photorealistic stuff. And
yeah.
even the oldest stuff they can recall is still ridiculously advanced compared to what we could get on home computers when I was first using them. So it really makes me curious with retro feels. What's that experience like? Because I only know how to experience it as me, where I saw graphics more primitive than this and found great entertainment value, you know, playing Galaga at Pizza Hut, at the one that's built into the table where your food can actually sit right on top and you play, right? That was awesome. The original Space Invaders. I remember when my dad came home and says, you got to come with me. You got to come see this game. And he took me to some restaurant that had Donkey Kong, the original, when it had first come to the United States, you know. Before that, all we knew about was Pac-Man.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how old I am. It's crazy. You guys, you know, you guys all saw some of that stuff. So that aside, now just to talk about the story, which I won't do too much because I don't want to spoil anything, the experience for anyone. But there's some real genius going on here. Like, it's like, I want to sit down and like, this is a guy I want to talk to that like I wish I could meet in a pub and just probe the brain of who came up with this, because the way that it's woven, it's just so damn genius. It's very, very innovative. I don't want to say anything about it because anyone who could get the experience out of it, like I did when I watched it, has to do with not knowing what's coming. Yeah. So I'm not gonna do anything to compromise that, but incredible craft. Yeah. So Tracy, you telling me that there's more
his
more background to this guy and more feathers in his cap, let's say, does not surprise me. A brilliant mind at work on this, and I'm just grateful to have experienced it, really.
Well, I'm
a big admirer of that element.
And
that element would be true no matter what, if this was live action or if it was advanced graphics or if it was text on the screen. That craft would still be there. It's really hard to talk about in tangible terms, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
You know? So thank you for this pick, Ricky. It lifts my spirits about the planet when I see something with that craft, you know.
Oh, I'm so glad.
The story is just so important.
Yeah.
And this is it's well done.
Well, this is an example of sort of in a way, a kind of comment on some of the high quality Unreal videos that we've seen and others who have this glitter, this absolute beautiful glitter, but they don't have the equivalent excellence in storytelling. And this guy has been able to put the two together in a way that, to me, is influential. I would go back and study this film.
Me too.
To learn.
I think I will, actually. Yeah, I think I will study this film.
To learn how he wove elements together so skillfully. Yeah. Because inevitably what happens is the two stories that I mentioned at the beginning of this start clashing with each other. And in a way, you sort of see the visual equivalent of his internal strife.
Yes.
In the game. And again, I won't spoil it for you because it has a beautiful.
It's really hard.
Climax.
It's really hard not to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful climax, but
it is.
It's that Chekhov's genius in being able to create humor and sadness at the same time.
Yes.
You know, he does that. Excuse me, Tracy, you've been trying to put something in there. What did you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say if he's following this at all, because we will try and tell him that we reviewed it, I would really plea for him to do some more work.
Yes.
And share it, because, you know, I think the last piece he put up was about 2017, 2018, but some more creative work would be wonderful to see from him.
Yeah.
And if you've done any interactive fiction please let us know about it. I'm a huge closet fan of that. I would love to for those of you, all of us here know what interactive fiction is, but the old from the 80s, the Infocom games of Zork and those types of things. There's still people making that stuff today. It's a very small community, but and there's been some really interesting innovation in how writing works in that. If he is a real enthusiast of the old days, he may have dabbled in that. If so, please, and you hear this show, please let us know. I would love to play through one of your IF works.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad everybody enjoyed it. Let us know your comments about this incredible Let's Play Nomad X by Kristian Andrews. What did you think of it? Do you have ideas that we may have missed on it? Or do you also want to see him make more films for us, which you'd like to hear from you at talk@completelyMachinima.com. And don't forget, Tracy's been putting a lot of information on our blog about artificial intelligence and AI generated art with the recent lawsuit that came up, and all sorts of other interesting news. That's at the blog at completelyMachinima.com. It has a lot of extra comment that we don't always put out here in the show. Well, that's it for us today. Thank you, Tracy and Phil and Damien, for your comments on this. And we'll come back next week with another film. So we'll see you. Goodbye.
Bye.